Well, it's December the 19th in the afternoon, and decided to make another little video on the current situation. It's it still is kind of interesting to see what's happened. I mean, a lot of developments are kind of occurring that are kind of below the surface. Some of them are slightly a little bit on the scary side, but basically, first of all, as I've pointed out in previous videos, the problem is that given the situation, the structure of the legal decisions that have been made, I'll put legal in quotes perhaps, but they are made by the legal authorities, the Supreme Court, various legislatures, governors, election officials, secretaries of state, and have created a situation in which the electoral vote has gone to Joe Biden for president. And Peter Navarro has put out a study which shows pretty good evidence the fact that the election very well may have been stolen. In fact, I tend to think it was stolen by a variety of improper votes. And I think we have these in all elections, but I think this time it was a little bit bigger than normal. And so you can make a definite case that really Trump should have been the winner if the votes were counted properly. But we had all these election irregularities, people from out of state voting, people voting twice, people illegally voting, people were illegal aliens voting, all this sort of thing. It all happened. And so that's the case that Trump is making. The problem is there's really nobody that's going, that's going to hear his case. The Supreme Court's turned him down flat, and I doubt they're going to reconsider. And so where do you go from here? I mean, essentially you go to the Senate on January the 6th and the House on January the 6th in a joint session. But the problem is the Democrats have the majority in the House. And unlike the situation where you have a tie vote or nobody has 270 electoral votes, unlike that situation, the law in this case, if individual senator and an individual House member challenge a certain elector or set of electors, it goes to a separate vote in each house, and a majority has to be won in both houses to overturn the choice that was sent there by the state. So regardless of how many senators stand with Trump, even if they all do, and even if he wins the votes in the Senate, he's going to lose them in the House because the Democrats have a clear majority in the House. Okay, it's that simple. Those challenges, those 84 alternate electors will not be picked as the electors, and Biden will be installed as president by the Electoral College vote. Now, and of course, at the present time, I guess President Trump is still rejecting this outcome. And so that leads to a bit of a collision course, doesn't it? We add to the mix here now that General Flynn the other day in a rally is talking about that Trump should call out the military, martial law, to do what? I mean, there's no riot in the street right now. There's no insurrection as such to put down. I mean, I've heard of talk, he was talking about the idea of having new elections in selected states by some kind of executive order, but there's no basis to make such an executive order. The problem is that the court system has failed us. And I say it outright. I can see why he's incredibly upset. Because the court system has failed us. Okay? It should have listened to these cases that were brought before them, evidence of fraud, and actually brought in the witnesses and the evidence, and it should have been pursued, I think. But it wasn't. And I think on the other hand, perhaps Trump himself was a little lax in using his executive authority earlier to order an investigation. I mean, what we had really was the Justice Department went out and apparently told the U.S. attorneys to see if they saw any evidence of election fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election. And they kind of went around and went, well, don't see any. And not only that, but since we're probably going to be out of office here shortly, I want to kind of look at which I don't want to create a stir and maybe reduce my chance of getting into a prestigious law firm here. Get those really nice billable hour salaries. So they obviously just completely wimped out on it, and there was never, as far as I can tell, any serious investigation launched. And certainly the people in the Trump campaign are saying they never saw it. And so they failed us too. And so the result is a situation where there's going to be some pretty unhappy people. But I will add the following, and you have to consider this. The majority of the popular vote did go to Biden, and if any legal authority overturned what's been certified to date at this point, they would be very unhappy too. So it's kind of a situation where everybody is going to have their own attitude, and it's not a good situation for the country. This is quite unfortunate, to say the least. I mean, it would have been better if the Democrats hadn't engaged in all these really obstructive, abusive tactics. If in fact they really did win, it would have been better if they'd let the Republican poll watchers in to do their watching, you know what I mean, and let them do their job. And I think they wouldn't be anything like what we have right now. They created this situation for themselves, because no matter the official outcome of this and the Biden presidency, it's not going to be accepted as legitimate because of what they did during the election. It really isn't. It will be, I think it's a reality that they are going to have the power of the federal government. And so there you have it. But that's not the kind of thing that the country is supposed to be based on. So now I hear that President Trump has called for a protest on January the 6th, the date that the vote is being counted, that it would be wild. Well, okay. So I don't know. Again, I don't know what all's going on here. And then another rumor is out there that there's discussion of Sidney Powell being appointed as a special counsel to investigate the election fraud and potentially even Hunter Biden. And I think if you were going to use Sidney Powell for this, her earlier activities kind of make it so that's not going to be as acceptable as it might be. I don't think you can actually bring in Rudy Giuliani or Jenna Ellis either at this stage. I mean, we need to have somebody that's not been associated with the Trump election challenges. And obviously wouldn't want to pick an establishment type either, because that would be kind of a waste of time. But so I don't know. I have no problem with the idea of appointing somebody to actually investigate this election, because I think we really do need to get to the bottom of what really did happen. I think a lot of false theories have been presented, and I think a lot of realistic theories have been presented. I think the Peter Navarro stuff is probably closer to the truth than anything we've seen so far, actually. The claims and magnitudes are not so outrageous as to be incredible. It doesn't clearly clash with the outcomes in the congressional and Senate races, for instance. So, but at the same time, I'm seeing things like Linwood demanding that John Roberts resign. And I don't know what would be gained by that. I mean, I guess he's not going to resign anyhow. He has a lifetime appointment. Why should he resign? Because somebody says so. I mean, the 3 Democrat liberal appointees are not going to resign either. So, and they voted the same way that Roberts presumably did. Presumably they all voted that way ultimately. I mean, for whatever reasons. So I think that we're just going to go through a period of discontent, I guess, is all I can say. I've been watching these Tim Pool Timcast videos, and he gets a little wild and excited, and he has these wild theories of something really catastrophic happening. But I doubt that's going to really occur. I think that everybody's going to be suitably upset, but I think there probably will be a protest on January the 6th, but I don't think it will be anything that's going to stop the process. And like I said, I've looked at it from every scenario, and I don't see a scenario where we actually overturn it with that challenge. I mean, it's not a matter of what I want. It's a matter of the numbers. Just look at the numbers and how the various players are going to behave. And if you scenario it out, I mean, obviously, I don't even think you're going to get the Republicans alone will not constitute a majority to take any such action. You can be a little mad at some of them, but I think forcing the ones that are in the middle to take a stand on this doesn't help the conservative movement in the future at all. It doesn't really help Trump in the future either. Excuse me. But so anyhow, that's kind of where I see the thing at the moment. And so we'll just have to wait and see what happens next. But so if you like these videos, please subscribe and give me a like and forward them to people. And we'll just have to see what happens next.